What's going on out there? It's February 15th. I'm Frank Curzio. This is the Wall Street Unplugged podcast where I break down headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. A little bit under the weather. Don't worry, it's not COVID. Got all the free tests that they send you. Like 4 of them. Took one already. I'm okay. Sick for most of the weekend. Very, very busy this week. So my oldest daughter turned 14. That was on the 12th. So that was on Saturday. Then my mom turned 79 the next day on the 13th. So happy birthday to both. Then on 14th, you have Valentine's Day. So, having 2 daughters, my wife, my mom, all happy stuff. But I probably spent more money in the past few days than what most people wagered on the Super Bowl. So if you do see some of those offers from my newsletter this week, you know why. But everything happens all at once, and it's crazy. But speaking of the Super Bowl, man, I'm sorry. I got this one right. I'm usually wrong. More than 80% of the time, I'm usually wrong. This one I actually got right. Cincy covered with the points, all because somebody missed an extra point. Remember, I want everybody to bet against me. I said Cincy. I actually had Cincy to win the game, but took them with the points. And that spread was 4. Went from 4.5 to 4 right before the game. They wound up winning by 3, so they covered. Again, that muffed extra point was really, really big. But how good is Vegas on that spread? They nailed it, right? 4 points. That's the spread. That's it. All the numbers, analytics. Those of you who think that you could beat the system, that spread was absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Also went 2 for 3 in my prop bets. So Jefferson, which is the wide receiver for the Rams. He didn't score the first TD. But Stafford threw 2 interceptions like I predicted, and Jesse Bates did have an interception. Probably won some money on that. But looking at the game, it was a good game, but the ending was kind of like, I just felt like Cincy should have won. Shutting down the run game, they just felt like they should have won that game. And the first 4th down they went on that opening series, absolutely terrible. You gave the Rams momentum right off the bat. It was like 14-3, 13-3 because they missed the extra point. Fought their way back. Second half came out on fire. But you look at the last series of the game where it's 3rd and 1 from the 50, and you hand the ball off. And Mixon looked like he was going to get the first down, but he just danced around and they nailed him before he got the first down. So now it's 4th and 1. So what do? You go freaking shotgun. You need a half a yard, and you're 5 yards behind the scrimmage to just get 1 yard. And you have nobody in the backfield. Now remember, the 4th quarter, the Rams D started breaking through every single play, every single possession in the second half. They were breaking through, right? Not in the second half, but in the 4th quarter. So now you put no help there, and you take the snap, and what happens? You wind up getting sacked, which if you just put one guy to help out, Chase was wide open on that play. Would have been, game over, but they would have scored a touchdown. It was wide open. Wide open. And Ramsey fell on the play again. So, I just didn't like that play call. What happened to quarterback sneaks? You need a half a yard quarterback sneak. So, the Rams did it on 4th and 1, right? And they handed it off to Cooper Kupp, which, by the way, another thing with the coaching the Bengals, Odell Beckham was having an amazing game. He was on fire. Confidence, probably would have been an MVP, if I had to guess. And then he went out, right? He got hurt. So you have one guy, right? Your running game is terrible for the Rams. You have one guy, which is Cooper Kupp. How does he score? How does he not even score the last touchdown, but get 4 catches on the last drive? 2, 3. Imagine if Belichick was the coach. There's no way he catches 1 pass in that drive. You can't really, outside of Jefferson, you can't even name another wide receiver on that team. So, I think Cincinnati had them. They had the shot to win. It's just, I didn't like the play call at the end. But it was a good game. Congratulations to Ram. And my apologies, because usually I'm wrong on this and get this right. But this one, yes, we actually won, which is sad. Because it defeats the whole purpose of the whole segment, because I'm always wrong on this. But that 4 points, I thought it was a lock, especially in the first quarter, 14-3 or 13-3. Keep saying 14. They missed the extra point and fumbled that. But I thought we were on our way to another loss, which would have been a win for you guys. And I'd rather all the time that you guys, I'd rather be wrong and have you make money than be right and you don't make money, right? Seriously, that's what I'd rather. So my apologies. Congratulations to a great Super Bowl. Now, getting to the markets, getting lots of questions. Lots of questions on Canada, too. It's crazy, man. Canada's nuts. I have so many friends in Canada. So many good friends in Canada. I love speaking at conferences. Holy shit, is it crazy there? It's absolutely nuts. Convoys and stuff like that. Also getting questions on Russia and the Ukraine, which is really driving the markets. especially over the past like 4 or 5 trading days. I mean, you're looking at today where the market's going up because they say Russia is backing down, not going to invade Ukraine. And that's a story. Will they invade Ukraine? If so, it's going to probably result in oil prices going higher, at least in the short term, stocks going lower due to uncertainty, since Biden said that if Russia invades Ukraine, there's going to be severe costs, right? Severe costs. And insinuating that maybe people thought that U.S. might go to war with Russia. Again, the general public thought that because they had to come out 2 days ago and say, no. It doesn't mean we're going to war with them or doing anything crazy. It's just severe costs. Sanctions and stuff like that. They actually had to come out and say that. They said that because there was such misinterpretation that people were like, why are we messing with Russia here? And I've been doing a lot of homework on this. Because the media, we all know they have an agenda. They all get together. They all say the same exact things. That's the media. We've seen that through COVID. We've seen it the past 2 years, ridiculously, even the last election. And I love when you're reading stories and they're saying, well, we have no idea why Putin is doing this. Why is he being an asshole? Why is he going to invade Ukraine? And I say, now, Russia's this terrible nation we need to fear. Now, look, I'm going to do something that's absolutely crazy right now. It's something the media is never going to do, something that can get me in loads of trouble, something that get me kicked off of a lot of media platforms, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know what that is? I'm going to tell you the truth. Russia has every right to invade Ukraine and wipe it off the face of the earth. And if that happens, Ukraine will deserve it. Hear me out. Nobody's saying this in the media, again, because they're not allowed to. You work for whatever company, you have to support their agenda. I think people listen because there's no bullshit podcast. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is, just like I told you exactly how it was with COVID, and we're seeing all this shit. Again, masks don't really work. The vaccines, again, not anti-vaccine or anything, as you guys know, but a lot of the stories I was bringing up with people getting pissed are turning out to be very, very true. And more doctors are finally being allowed to say stuff, even with Wuhan and China and stuff like that, finally, right? If you said they got kicked off platforms. But anyway, let's get to Russia and Ukraine. Because first, Ukraine, if you're looking at them as a nation, they're probably the most corrupt nation out there. One of them. If you look at every presidential election since 1991, since the presidential elections, it's been corrupt. Okay, the first president elected, that guy ended up resigning. The second president got elected in 2004, only because the election was rigged. So in 2010, the next president took office, and that was until 2014, and that's when, and I'm going to bring up some names here, Poroshenko came in to power, and it was a coup. And that's how he became president. Now, Poroshenko became president. He's pro-Europe, pro-democracy, so he says, right? So he said, which is great for the world. So Europe was happy about this, and they supported him, and so did the U.S., where President Obama signed a pact to help Ukraine battle corruption, and it was a non-lethal military assistance agreement. Non-lethal, right? Because we want to provide weapons and stuff, right? Because it's direct conflict with Russia. President Obama did a good job, right? He said, you know what? You know what I'm going to do for you, Ukraine, now that you guys want to end the corruption and poverty and stuff. He's like, I'm going to do something special. I'm going to send my vice president, Joe Biden, over to you, okay? We're going to call him the chief envoy. I'm going to send him to you guys, and he's going to work with you, to work everything out. I know I ran against him. I know I said don't underestimate Joe's ability to fuck things up. That's what Obama said. But he's not going to fuck this up. I promise. All right, he's going to go there. It's going to be fun. And of course, that's what we found out. Hunter Biden was getting paid $1 million to sit on the board of a Ukrainian natural resource company, which was run by the natural resource minister of Ukraine, even though he has no experience in the natural resource industry. Wonder why he got that job. So when we're looking at Biden, now as president, is very, very familiar with Ukraine, very attached to Ukraine. It's in his best interest to help them out. This is not an attack on Biden or the Democrats and just reporting facts, because this gets a lot better. So those of you who love your Republicans, well, in 2017, Trump was president. He decided to approve an arms sale to Ukraine. He said, here's the weapons, hundreds of millions of dollars worth. Here you go. This military aid to Ukraine to help fight Russia in case of invasion. I mean, think about that for a minute. Imagine if China or North Korea provided military aid to Canada and Mexico sold them arms. I mean, how would we feel in the U.S.? But even more important, you have to love the irony here. Since the Democrats' ultimate agenda to remove Trump from office was to create this whole fake narrative about how Russia helped him win the election. Not only is the story 100% not true, and I think Hillary, I don't know, in today's times, now you get caught on camera doing shit and you still don't get in trouble, but Hillary's probably allowed to hacking the server of the White House and having proof of that. Good luck. Good luck. But why would Russia support Trump, who just armed Russia's greatest enemy with weapons, right? I mean, he never asked that question. They didn't care. They just went with the agenda. They reported this shit that was 100% fake, still haven't apologized, and we all believe the BS. Now, through Poroshenko's presidency, he promised a lot of things like every politician does and failed to deliver. Again, like every politician does. So in 2019, he lost his presidency to Zelensky, his current president. This is a comedian. He's an actor. No political experience. Easily won. That's what happens when you have charisma, right? Getting 70% of the vote. He campaigned against poverty, corruption. Again, Ukraine has been corrupt forever. 30 years, almost every single election. And it's kind of similar to the Democrats' campaign to help all poor people in major cities. And 40 years have passed and these people are poorer than ever. And they're still going to vote Democrat forever, which is kind of interesting. But Zelensky, his party, also won the majority of parliament seats. And that was a big deal. So for the first time since Ukraine's independence, the president had a majority party in parliament, meaning that this guy could do whatever the fuck he wants. And that's exactly what he did. He started arresting pro-Moscow businessmen, seized the assets of the biggest backers to the opposition party, arrested anyone that disagreed with his agenda, shut down 3 pro-Russia TV channels, alleging that they're spreading misinformation, shut down radio stations. So Ukraine is basically a dictatorship, right? It's not a pro-democratic nation. Now, here's Russia. This powerful nation, superpower with massive resources. But Russia doesn't really bother anyone. I mean, Russia is not a threat to the U.S. It's not like Americans would be in danger going to major cities in Russia. It's not like North Korea. Not some crazy nation looking to take over the world. I mean, if North Korea had the technology, they'd bomb everybody. But they don't have the technology. Not like China, who murdered 6 million people creating coronavirus in a lab, but they still will not let anyone go into Wuhan and inspect anything. Nope, you're not allowed to be here. Nope, no way, right? Or China, how they steal all of our technology, lie about climate change, where they're using more coal than ever. Take a look at Peabody and Arch Resources results. They just reported. Look at those results. They're generating more free cash flow than their market caps of the company. That's how much. What happened to coal? It's supposed to disappear. They're producing it like crazy and selling it to China. Why is China doing that? Because they're going to be a powerhouse. They're bullshitting about this climate change and all this crap. And look at us. You know, we increase our dependency on foreign natural resources because we refuse to drill in our own backyard. We don't have new resources, wind, solar, to pick up that slack. That's why you've seen energy prices go crazy. China's coal like crazy. Hey, they run the world. You have the energy. Energy runs the world. And good for them. That's what they're doing. Not only that, China, again, Russia's not like China, where China has every one of our politicians, major corporations on their payroll. Go do your research. It's not hard to find. This isn't conspiracy theory. Just look. It's why in the U.S. we can never say anything bad about China. We're a free nation. We could not say, you got kicked off social media for saying that China started the coronavirus in a lab in Wuhan, which we know is fact. You get kicked off social media for that. You know what our response is when we're mad at China? You know what our politicians do? We're going to boycott the Olympics. Boycott the Olympics. Like you want to go there anyway. I mean, is anybody watching the Olympics at all? Does anybody care? I mean, sad, but nobody really cares. They're going to make it all nice and pretty right now, but in the background, man, the coal productions. Even France said we have to produce more coal. We can't afford it with natural gas to fund electricity. We can't do it. You can't say anything bad about China. You're not allowed to, ever. But Russia's not some crazy enemy. I mean, they should be more pissed at us than anything. We create fake stories of how Putin and their government rigged our elections and for 3 years trashing these guys when this story is 100% fake. I mean, they have every reason to despise us. Now, Putin made it very clear to the Ukraine. He said, look, you're a free country. We'll leave you alone. Just don't do 2 things. Don't touch Crimea and don't join NATO. If you do, we're going to blow you off the map. Just don't do that. And what did this idiot do? Exactly the opposite. Trying to join NATO, and they want to take over Crimea. Crimea is a key property. It gives Moscow access to naval bases, home to the Black Sea Fleet. But more importantly, when you're looking at the Black Sea, it's a major warm water deep water port, meaning you could ship goods year-round, very, very important, doesn't freeze, and massive ships can pass through, which allows Russia to ship its natural resources and other goods between Europe and Central Asia, two of the biggest markets in the world outside the U.S. It's a big deal. And Russia took this over because they can, and it made sense to them. They know nobody could really get involved or stop them like Europe or the U.S., and they did it, annexed it. People are pissed about it, but hey, they had the power to do it, and they did it, which is not our problem. Not our problem. But NATO, getting to NATO, the reason why they don't want to join NATO, and NATO is great. So NATO is not like the UN. The UN is designed for peace. NATO is designed for war. It's to fight war, right? It's a collective defense, meaning if someone attacks a member of NATO, it attacks all the members of NATO. Meaning if Ukraine was accepted into NATO and then Russia invaded, it would be like declaring war on the US, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, almost all European countries who are in NATO. That's why Ukraine wants to become a member of NATO, which, by the way, takes 20 years to complete the plan to get in. Well, Ukraine only filed in 2008, and they have special agreements, like we're partnering with NATO, and they call it different. They're not in NATO, and they'll never be accepted into NATO because they're a dictatorship now, and it's a corrupt nation. They're never going to be accepted into NATO. But they're trying to smooth it all because they want that power. So is Ukraine, they continue to poke the bear, which is Russia, where Putin said, he said outright, he's saying it in speeches everywhere. Because if you join NATO, it's a direct threat to us. If you do, we're going to take over your country. And honestly, I see his point. I mean, Ukraine joining NATO is like Canada and Mexico joining a special alliance with North Korea and China. Will we allow that? And by doing so, Mexico and Canada would give our greatest enemies access to our borders. We don't even know what's going on there. So the U.S., as a powerful nation, would do the same exact thing Russia's doing right now. It would literally invade Canada and Mexico probably at the same time if they signed such an agreement. That brings us to the U.S. How are we involved in this mess? Why do we care? And we're really willing to support Ukraine, this corrupt dictatorship who's picking a fight with a superpower that really doesn't want to go to war with them? If they did, they would have took them over in 2004. And since 2013, Russia's been saying this. Since 2013, look, you're independent, have your own country, don't go into NATO, and don't touch Crimea. Simple. Since 2013, go back. But we're going to have major conflicts with Russia over this? Again, who's no threat to us like China and North Korea who want to take over the world. And again, have all of our politicians and major corporations on payroll. Like Coca-Cola won't say anything bad. None of these companies. The NBA won't say anything bad. LeBron James doesn't say anything bad about China. No. It's all about money. It's the biggest growth market in the world. If China was the biggest growth market in the world, same thing. We'd see our corporations defending them as well, but they're not. Unless you're into resources and stuff like that. If we're really going to get into a fight with Russia, it should be because we want to take over the natural resources and increase our world dominance, not because some garbage, corrupt country that doesn't support our values and freedoms, who has a comedian as president, who announced on Sunday or Monday morning the date that Russia plans to invade Ukraine, and then said, no, I was just joking, which significantly moved the markets. Are you kidding? You're just joking about war. Hundreds of thousands of people, there's impacts in markets across the world. Oh, I was just being sarcastic. Again, comedian background. But we're really going to get involved just because Ukraine, this corrupt nation, wants to become more powerful? Anyway, war is up to Ukraine. If they don't join NATO or stop talking about joining NATO, which, again, it's never going to happen anyway, they'll never get accepted into NATO, and leave Crimea as is, then Russia won't invade, leave them alone. They said that clear as day. Either way, as a U.S. investor with plans on holding stocks in the long term, it is a non-event. I said the same thing about tariffs. I know you think it's crazy and it moves the markets. As a trader, if you see this invasion, oil will go higher. Again, it doesn't seem likely after today's news. When we hear that they're backing up, moving troops, we'll see. That's today. Could change later on. I'm doing this mid-afternoon. Stocks will fall initially due to uncertainty, but it'll be short-lived. It's just using the pullback to buy some of your favorite names. A lot of these names which are down tremendously already. So anyway, that's the truth. If you want to hear the truth, that's the truth. Do some research on it. Do it from non-biased sites and go out there and you'll see and you'll know why Putin wants to invade Ukraine. You see the corruption. Go back and look at history in Ukraine for every presidency, every one. It's like marked by some kind of coup or some kind of just fake election. The corruption, the promises. Now they have all this power. It's scary when you have all that power and you can do whatever you want. And that's what they're trying to do. Being run by a comedian who has no political experience of how to talk to people or anything, it's pretty crazy. And why are you shutting down the media and everything else? You're shutting down those outlets because people are starting to change. You're saying, look, we don't want to go to war. Leave Russia alone. They're leaving us alone. Leave us alone. And you can't blame Russia. You join NATO, you're going to have, Europe and the U.S. and controlling right next to your border. Why would Russia want that? If they can control, and they can control it. They can, because no one's going to do anything if they invade. We could talk a big game and sanctions and all this garbage, but the bottom line, they funnel all of their energy, all their resources to Europe. Europe cannot fuck with Russia ever, ever, ever. Russia is much, much more powerful. They shut that off. You saw that when they shut off the Ukraine. They shut off, forget it. I mean, they have that new pipeline they just built. It goes under the Baltic Sea that goes right to Germany. When you have natural resources, you are extremely powerful as a nation. So Russia has, U.S. has. That's why Japan's economy is not doing that well. They don't have those natural resources. Not a coincidence that those are the most powerful nations in the world. But this whole thing about how Russia's the enemy and why are we involved in this? Why is the U.S. involved? Well, we know why they're involved in this, right? I mean, Biden has huge ties to this, but come on, this is crazy. This has nothing to do with us. Get out of it. We're really going to fight instead of worrying about our borders here, our cities where crime is through the roof and focusing on making our country better. We're fighting this corrupt nation's war for them and picking a fight with a superpower? Are you out of your mind? And what the hell is wrong with us? What's going on? Anyway, I don't see this happening. Even if it does, it's going to be short-lived. See a little disruption in the markets. But again, I use it as a buying opportunity. If you're a long-term investor, I wouldn't worry about this much. Just like I said about tariffs, where tens of billions of stories are written about China and tariffs are crazy and these wars, border, whatever. Trade wars with China, and all of it was garbage. And the stock market went up and up and up and up and up. It kept going up, right? Because China has no choice. China cannot do anything. We purchase those goods. We could purchase those goods from anywhere we want. Yes, we'd pay more to go to other places in Asia, but China needs us. We have the money. China needs us. Not going to sell treasuries. Not going to do anything crazy. They can't. They need us. So they could bark and talk a big game as much as they want, but China wasn't doing anything. They had no choice. They had to listen to us. Of course, you're going to bark and make a lot of noise, and that's what you want to do and show power. But at the end of the day, they couldn't do anything. It's like, we really can't do anything if Russia decides to invade Ukraine. We can't. And if it happens, it happens. But if you're holding your stocks, you plan to hold them longer than 9 months, 12 months, which is a lot of stocks in our portfolio, then you might see a little bit of a decline, but don't go crazy. Actually, you might be able to use that opportunity to buy some of your favorite names, cheaper price. So I want to thank all of you, since this is probably my last podcast that you'll see on iTunes or YouTube, for telling the truth, since big tech hates when you tell the truth on their platforms, but position yourselves accordingly. So guys, I'm running a special promotion for Moneyflow Trader. Why am I doing that? I'm not doing that because I spent a lot of money on Valentine's and birthdays. I was only kidding about that. It's because we're getting a lot of questions on it, because there's more volatility in the market than ever. People want to know how to play this. And this is why I provide this newsletter. Granted, it was a little bit early when I started 3 years ago. I didn't expect the government to go crazy and inject $19 trillion into the marketplace, and tax reforms to get passed so quick, where in 2017-18 resulted in an explosion in earnings for these companies. And but we knew that the market's not going to go up forever. 12 straight years for the NASDAQ, and we're seeing this crazy volatility right now. So I pried this off for you in December, saying that now's time to protect yourselves. The big fundamental change in the market. We're going to see more volatility than we've ever since the credit crisis. Now the Fed is in full tightening mode, and they have no choice. I love when people say the Fed's not going to raise more than 3-4 times. They don't have a choice. You got to take money out of the system. You see the PPI number today? Record high. CPI? I mean, that's a record high, all-time high. If you use the same formula you used back in the 80s, there's no comparison. Of course, we made so many revisions to try to make that number in the CPI stay as low as possible. But 7.5%, remember that 2% benchmark that we had? We'll start raising rates once it hits 2%. It's 7.5%. Inflation, it's going higher still, right? 12 months ago now. It's 12 months ago. You've been saying that it's transitory. Obviously, you took that away in November and said, okay, it's not transitory. We get it. But we're definitely getting a 50 basis point rate hike. And we're probably going to get 2 of those in a row. And maybe that's factored in. But the Fed, it's not like they're not going to do it. A lot of people say, well, the Fed they're not going to do it. They have to do it. I mean, prices are out of control. Supply chain issues still exist. All of a sudden, they came back, seeing more demand. But in the middle of all this, what does it do? It creates massive volatility. So Moneyflow Trader, and this is Ginia Terra Nova, just booked 165% gain in one of our positions that tanked after earnings. And she did this by buying long-dated puts, which is a super easy strategy you could use in typical online accounts. Bets against stocks over a 12-month time frame, where if you see a stock over that period move lower by 15-20%, you're going to make a pretty big score in it. And we've seen companies like Facebook and PayPal, 2 massive companies, fall by these amounts in a day. That's how crazy this market is right now. But this is a way to protect your portfolio. There's times to be all in, go aggressive. We've done a great job of that. Leading up to COVID, pulling chips off the table, going back in a couple months later. But it's been a bull market, low interest rates, money flowing into the system, the Fed buying bonds, a perfect environment to take as much leverage as you possibly can, take on risk. Risk access surged. Those days are over. Now you got to protect your portfolio. So I created this product for this type of market. Granted, again, created a little bit early, thinking that we wouldn't see those massive tax cuts that Trump passed. And the government inject $19 trillion into the system, which now has to be removed. It's actually not funny, but our government has to take this money out of the system. That's why you see a lot of companies get smoked, especially those without earnings, those trading at the same valuations, and they're still trading at the same valuations. There's a lot of risk to them. But just have one of these companies fall 40%, 50%, which we saw this in most small caps from November through January. You could easily make 3x to 10x on just one of these positions, enough to be worth more than your entire portfolio. But buying puts, guys, real quick, it's not shorting. I'm not telling you to short stocks, right? You don't have unlimited risk. The stock can go to infinity. And in today's day and age, I mean, we have a Ukraine president who's a comedian that just told us he was only kidding about war that moved oil in the markets tremendously, right? So, you can get crushed shorting at the wrong time, especially a meme stock where all of a sudden, I mean, Robinhood went to 80 before it is, 15 over a quick period, and it'll blow out of the position and you get, just massive short covering and that stock keeps rising, you get murdered. This isn't that. You only lose the amount of money you put into the trade. It's the perfect strategy for the perfect market where conditions will be like this at least for the next 18 months during which the Fed is tightening. Stop buying bonds. And you need to protect yourself. So if you're on an email list, you're going to email with that special offer. It's the last time you're going to see that special price we offered in December. You get it now because we're getting lots of inquiries about becoming a member of Moneyflow Trader. Of course, now the market is down and I see it and people are nervous now. I get it. My job is not just to give you stock recommendations that you're going to make money on, but I realize over my 30-year career, when you protect investors, then they become a subscriber for life. Because there's times to be aggressive. Markets usually go up and down. I know we're used to seeing a market go up a long time, especially for new investors that started in 2010, 11, 12, 13, whatever. I get it. You're used to bull markets, and this is so easy. It's not like that. Especially when you're taking the Fed and the money out of the system. You're taking the punch bowl away. It's much, much, much more difficult to make money in this market. It's a stock picker's market. It's dangerous. There's a lot of stocks that are going to see 30, 40% declines from here. And you need just one of those to make a massive score. And Jenny's already just locked in 165% gain. And this is by buying puts on a cloud company or data analytic company that just got crushed. So if you think there's stocks out there that could get crushed, this is a great newsletter for you. If not, no worries. But a lot of you on our email list. If you're not, you can sign up to our email list at curzioresearch.com. And we'll be offering that for the rest of this week. And then that would be it. We're going to close that special price to you. So if you're interested, okay. If not, no worries. But guys, that's it for me. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of questions and comments on this podcast. So keep them coming. FrankCurzioResearch.com. Love you guys. Really appreciate all the support. Thank you, because downloads are really, really surging. I guess a lot of you guys talk about the podcast. But record downloads continues to hit new records. Really, really exciting stuff. So just want to say really, really appreciate that. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.